This is 510
All right, episode 35, we talking Niners. Is CMC going to be the same MVP caliber running back? He missed the whole preseason, and I get it, because, I myself sprained ankles, pulled hamstrings, dislocated shoulders in training camp, in my senior year in college, man, I know how it can be, looking at preseason as a waste of time in a place that you can actually end up missing the whole year because you get hurt. It's crazy, man. But you know what? I think in reality, you got to get some kind of work in. You got to be able to get into the game, get up to game speed. Get in game shape, at least a quarter, man. In one or two preseason games. How's it going to be in mid-season form with no reps at game speed? We saw it a few years ago with Bosa, holding out a few years, and then a few years ago he held out in camp. Then in week 2, boom, he gets knocked out for the season. You know what I'm saying? There's something to it. Missing all of the preseason doesn't seem to be a good thing or a good recipe for success in the regular season. Remember last year with Brandon Ayuk, he held out a training camp. He wanted a bigger contract. He got his contract, and then he signed right before week 1. But he was playing a little bit rusty. I remember he wasn't looking the same. And then he eventually got hurt in week 7, tearing his ACL and his MCL, and then he missed the rest of the season. So it's not a good track record for people that miss the preseason and they hold out and just feel like people are just lazy. They don't want to be in training camp double days. It's tough, So I mean, his numbers weren't exactly number 1 wide receiver numbers, man. Straight up. Be honest. Last year, Juwan Jennings stepped up as the number 1 receiver. He looks like the number 1 guy. He brought in 77 catches, 975 yards, 6 touchdowns. He looked like the best red zone threat also. So, I don't get what happened with Ayuk. It just seems like somewhere down the road he just got full of himself. But what I'm saying is, man, when you mess around and miss training camp, when you miss preseason, it's not a good look. So it's like, what do we have? I guess from what the latest that I've heard is, we're right before week 1. I see Jennings is getting back on the field, and I think he's going to play. I don't know if he's getting his contract that he wants, but I think as a unit, the receiving core hasn't really improved, man. You have you have Ricky Pearsall. He looks solid. Okay, I like to see what he can do in year 2. Jennings, and then they have a couple new guys that are in there, some rookies. But overall, it's not like this is a Super Bowl core. Deebo Samuel in 2019, 2020, that was the number 1 receiver. He was ready for prime time. Last year, the 49ers had the most injuries in the league, and the last 5 years it's been a recurring theme, man. Like, I don't know what it is going on with the coaching staff, strength and conditioning staff, but once again this year they're having a plethora of injuries. I don't know what they got going on with that, but it continues to happen, and it's happening every year. And I think we're missing at least 1 Super Bowl because of the injuries. Good news though, this year we got Robert Salah back as the DC. When he was there in 2019, that was the top defense we've seen in the last 5-6 years. He's the man behind those solid defenses, especially that 2019 team went to the Super Bowl. I mean, yeah, they had solid personnel. Okay, the D-line, they had Armstead and Buckner. Number 2 overall defense, number 1 against the pass. But yeah, he doesn't have that same personnel this year, so it's going to take some time. The scheme I'm sure that, he's going to put people in the right places to be successful. He has the right scheme and he knows personnel. So eventually, I think the defense is going to come together. So yeah, man. Bay Area football is looking good. We East Bay Kings, so we're looking at what's right here in front of us. And right now, we're looking at college. We're looking at Cal. Cal, they got a solid quarterback. Jaron Kiawe Saga Ulatele. He's got an NFL arm talent, good size, good mobility. Looks great, man. You're hearing a lot of good things about him all over the nation on ESPN and sports shows. They had a running back that was up for the Heisman. He transferred to Oklahoma, Jaden Ott. He's no longer there. So the backfield is now led by Kendrick Raphael. And on the defense, they have a solid linebacker in Cade Uluabe. Hope I got that right, man. I'm going to butcher the name. But, Cal is now playing in the ACC. Make that make sense. They're looking to rebound after a 6-7 record last year, ending unranked. They're looking to be led by that quarterback, man. So we'll see. I'm looking for big things out of Cal in the QB. But also, we'll go right into high school. Right around the corner, De La Salle, ranked number 1 by Max Preps in the top 25 metro area. They're rolling out a squad with Deuce Jones-Drew. That's the son of Maurice Jones-Drew, Antioch native. Yeah, man, I can't wait to see what he can do on the field. We're paying attention to high school now. We're an agency, so we can help out with getting people marketing deals, NIL deals. So definitely tap in if you're a local talent and you're looking for more exposure. But yeah, De La Salle is looking good. They got a receiver over there that ran a 10.01. So that's blazing. That's like Olympic speed. So we're looking forward to that. So yeah, man, Bay Area football is on the up and up. We can't talk Raiders, Who we gonna talk about? Niners, Cal, De La Salle. Yeah, that's where we at, man. So anybody that's interested in getting some training or some exposure, whether it's football or basketball, holler at us, info@eastbaykings.com, and we'll get you right, man. All right, we got my man Big Tone back in here again. We're gonna talk some football. What you think about the Niners and the NFL season upcoming? Bay Area football in general. What you got cooking for me?
Bay Area football in general, I would like to end what I have to say with the Niners, because there's a lot probably that I could say there. I've been a fan of the Niners, man, since the 80s. So true fans of the Niners will hopefully understand. Like I want to put out more of a realist viewpoint, but also there's definitely room for optimism with what they're doing. But let's start with the college, because there's more of those in the area now that the Raiders, A's, a lot of these pro teams have left at least the East Bay, if not the Bay Area altogether. Cal, Stanford, and San Jose State, they still are viable franchise, programs that are putting out some pretty good talent. It's the NIL era now. So, from that standpoint, I think if they're going to succeed, and a lot of the teams that do succeed get to the playoff and have that kind of success, they have guys that keep the main thing, and hopefully they'll allow some other team or entity, whatever it is, to control their NIL and all the extra stuff outside of what we remember as being a student athlete in college. That other stuff wasn't even a part of it. And so a lot of these players, they delve into that too, and they're taking classes, and they're trying to be a good football player. Leveraging all three of those isn't really going to bode well for a lot of them. So, the size of the player now is significantly smaller. I mean, San Jose State, for example, they have a linebacker who's their trump defender, and he's 6'1", 210 pounds.
You think the players now are smaller?
I do. This guy's name's Jordan Pollard, and he's got great numbers, and I'm sure his film is nice, but if you're projecting him going to the next level, he's not going to be able to play at that weight.
Well, I didn't even really notice that shit, but maybe you might be right. Maybe they're because teams are playing with nickel more because of 5 wide sets.
My thinking is he's an outside backer that just does a lot of rushing. You know, more of a hybrid backer, is more of a Sam or outside backer that rushes. But still, I mean, if he's going to translate to the next level, 210 is just a little light in the tailpipe. Stanford, I feel like they're in trouble. They went to the ACC. And so what that's going to mean is they're going to have 6 or 7 road games. So they got to travel across the country. And those teams are pretty much even, if not better, than Stanford is right now. Stanford has always been, they've blown me away with how successful they've been because it's so hard to get into the school. Cal too, in a way. But Cal has a head coach in Wilcox. He's been there for like 9 years, and he's 10 games under 500. It kind of speaks to the status of coaching. It's like, why is he still in position when there's viable candidates of African American descent who can relate to the players, who can infuse a little bit of juice into the program, social media wise and whatnot, and they're just not really giving a lot of these guys those opportunities, and I think that would in turn help their progress in terms of recruiting. So that's kind of the status of college in the Bay Area. There's hope, but a lot of these other areas have kind of surpassed, and they're picking up a lot of the Trump talent. Not too much talent is coming out of Northern California like that as much as it used to. Part of that, I think, is because a lot of folks are just moving out of the area. It's too expensive, you know. So that's that for the college, but when you delve into the high school, what are you looking for? I mean, you're looking for athleticism, you're looking for speed, you're looking for coachability, you're looking for work ethic. But I think once they get to that, things like character, leadership, maturity, accountability, responsibility, resilience, mental toughness, organizational skills. Are you going to class? I mean, if you're not going to go to class consistently, we can't depend on trusting you on the field. So, you know, I can't tell you, even when I was playing, there were some good, talented guys that just couldn't stay eligible, man. And it's only a 2.0, which is not that tough. But when you put a lot of other things in the way and you're not focused on the main thing, then that stuff kind of can happen. So a lot of those traits, and I remember recruiting and going into high schools myself, what's the growth potential of the player? How versatile are they? And are they coachable? None of them are ready yet. So they have to be able to trust and listen to the coaches in place. And a lot of kids today, unfortunately, in this generation, they're not doing too much of that. They know the answers to everything. You can't really tell them a lot. So
my daughters is even up on the ChatGPT. What do you think of that? They just using AI now to get all the answers. Is that gonna?
I think that can work in the dark. But when you have to be face to face and speak orally to some of these folks in those positions, they will sniff out a Fugazi in a heartbeat. You know? So you can fake it till you make it all you want to. There's gonna have to come a time where you can organically speak, articulate yourself, and prove to them that you're capable of doing that stuff without any support. So I think the more that parents can sit down with their kids once they get to high school, if they want to be an athlete, hey, that there needs to be consistent conversations. The parents should seek out other people who've been involved in the sport so they can come and, have sit-down conversations with the kid. There's just not enough dialogue for the kid to really buy into what they have to do. They're seeing their friends doing all this other stuff, and they don't know any better. They think that's what it is. So that's kind of the status of college and high school in this area and in a lot of areas around the country right now. Now we get to the nitty-gritty. The 49ers. The 49ers I see as being a fringe playoff team this year. I do not agree with paying Brock Purdy all that money. He was Mr. Irrelevant for a reason. He has limited arm strength, and he's a lot better athlete than a lot of people may give him credit for, but he's still not a guy who's going to break off a 20-yard run. And I don't know if he's going to complete balls to receivers down the field with too much air yards and velocity. So there's that kind of weakness there, but that might be rectified depending on how much Shanahan can improve. I think Shanahan is the scapegoat for the losses in the Super Bowls. And also, Shanahan, at some point, he's got to take some of the heat along with the training staff. What are you guys doing to prepare these teams for the season, in the off-season, during the season? How do you justify and explain all of these injuries year in, year out? Other teams are deep in the playoffs too. The Chiefs didn't have all that. Yeah. So it doesn't make a lot of sense for them to and it's like they're building in an excuse to fall short of the expectation. And now the expectation actually has been lowered, even though a lot of experts are still picking them to win the West.
I read something about they didn't even spend up to the cap. They might have, I don't know if it was $50 million unspent money.
Just sitting there.
And that's not a team that's trying to go all in. If they're not spending money up to the brink, like, you know what I'm saying, all the way up to all they got, then that means that they're saving. What are you saving up for? They're saving for the future. They're looking at the future. This is a rebuild year.
Mm-hmm. It's that, or maybe they have in mind some guys because they let a lot of talent go. The Greenlaws, the Ofungas, the Hargraves, these are guys that were Pro Bowl caliber talents, especially on their defense. It's good to see Robert Salah come back because he was the guy that developed all that. So now they have talent on the defensive end, and so maybe he's going to develop some of those guys. They can lock them in long-term early, and then they can still, have some wiggle room for the cap in the offseason. That could justify what they're doing with that and having space. But if you are going for it, like you said, you're gonna use that space. So why wouldn't you? McCaffrey and Trent Williams. Those two players in particular are the two most important to me. They have to stay healthy, especially Trent Williams. When Trent Williams starts and finishes a game with McCaffrey in the lineup, it used to be Deebo Samuel, but you can throw in McCaffrey in that mix too. The Niners are going to win 3 out of 4 games. It doesn't matter who they're playing. Because you always got that off left, you got that off tackle to the left side.
Hell yeah.
And it's there.
Man, I would kill to be able to run behind a line like that. I was thinking about it, man. I never had a big line like a line like that. As some people that were over 300 pounds. That makes a huge difference, man.
And that can move like him and maul people as good as he can. I mean, as old as he is, he's still probably the best left tackle in the league. If you were to ask players, like just pool 10 D linemen, defensive ends that had to play against him, they'll tell you, So the 49ers, I see them no lower than second place in the West. There should be in the 7, 8, 9 range in terms of the playoff pool. They're going to be competing with teams like Seattle, Atlanta, maybe Minnesota. in that 7, 8, 9 range. Because you got to factor in Philly, you got to factor in Detroit, you got to factor in Green Bay, you got to factor in who's going to win the South. Tampa, probably Tampa will win the South. That's 4 teams right there. And then the East, another team out of the East likely will be Washington. So that's 5 right there. With the 3 that I mentioned, there's 8. There's only 7 spots. So when the Niners play those teams that I mentioned, they're going to have to split. And then, win all of their home games in the division for sure. Split, 2 wins, 2 losses on the road in the division. And then hopefully they can win the rest of their home games and maybe one hiccup, because they're going to have a tough schedule. But at the same time, in the NFC West, they do have the most playoff-friendly schedule.
Yeah, that's what I hear. They're saying they got the easiest schedule. I'm going like 9 and 8. A little bit better than mediocre, man. That's just what I see.
9 and 8 might make it too, because it's a competitive league now, and you're not going to see like what the Chiefs did last year. That's not happening. There's not going to be a team that goes 15-1. That's not going to happen. There's too many good teams now. So we shall see where the chips fall, and maybe this might be a hot take, but if they don't make the playoffs, Shanahan might be on the hot seat.
Been saying that for years, man. It could be true. We'll see, man. I think Purdy and Shanahan is if you have the coach and you have the quarterback, I mean, you got something to build around. He's young. Shanahan's still young. I think I'm just being an optimist. I think that they have a solid foundation, and with Salah back, they'll be competitive, and they have the money. They'll be able to build over the next 2-3 years. I think they should be able to get one, man, but not this year. This is a rebuilding year. So, yeah, that's what it is, man. So, okay, it's a wrap. Episode 35, Renz 5-0 Radio, 5-0radio.com, East Bay Kings podcast. Renz Jr. and Big Tone, you know what I'm saying? We'll be back at you next week, or next time. I'll at y'all next time. All right, y'all.